Hi, I'm Carrie Barrett, and this is the VIQ Project Podcast. VIQ is Video IQ, and my question is, what's yours? This podcast is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about video. You'll learn how to fully leverage it, from your on-camera delivery to turning viewers into clients, and literally everything else in between. Are you ready to level up your VIQ? Let's get rolling. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the VIQ Live Speaker Series. I'm your host, Carrie Barrett. We are joined today by the lovely and talented Shay Rowbottom. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Carrie. I am great. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, listen, so are we. So am I specifically.
I know you are. That's why you put on the fancy shirt.
It's why I put on my party shirt.
Yes.
Listen, Rent the Runway. There's a whole nother episode that is dedicated to figuring out how to bring your authenticity and your brand to your on-camera wardrobe. So if you're interested in the shirt, you can check out that episode. But before we jump into your area of expertise, which is really like how to create those top of funnel videos that get the eyeballs, that make you discoverable online, do you want to give people a very sort of quick intro into what you do and how you do it?
Absolutely. So today we see a lot of businesses attempting to do social media, right? I think at this point, 2022, everyone's on the bandwagon. Everyone has figured out, you know what, this social media thing is not going anywhere.
Right.
I need to learn how to leverage it to grow my business. The problem is with a lot of these businesses, they are frustrated, they are overwhelmed, and they are basically left feeling helpless when they attempt to post videos on social media to grow. And of course, nothing happens. No followers come. Yeah, exactly. No followers, no leads, no growth. And it's like, what is going on here? Well, I'll tell you, a lot of people are coming to social media with the video principles they learned in the heydays, which you know all about, traditional film, commercials, etc. And they're trying to take that same format and use it to grow on social media. But on social media, it's a completely different ball game. The way that you make and structure videos is entirely different than what we've been traditionally taught around videos, commercials, etc. So that's where I come in. You know, I really teach businesses how to create effective videos for social media that actually brings inbound leads and followers and attention, right? What we're all after. But I really, I cannot stress enough the emphasis that I put on it, which is so crucial, is it's actually a lot easier than people realize. It does not have to be time consuming. It doesn't have to be expensive, which again, I understand back in the day, video was expensive. So a lot of these business owners carry that mentality in. You can shoot on your cell phone. Anyone with a great message and value to add can grow a following now. So that is the age that we're living in. And I'm just here to be one of the guides to empower businesses to bring it in-house, to do it themselves so that they have a consistent flow that's effective and engaging for their audience.
Well, 100%. It's all about, okay, so I've posted a video, but I don't really have a strategy. I don't really know what makes it compelling. I may get a couple of eyeballs. I'm going to get frustrated and give up, or maybe get a bunch of eyeballs, but none of them turn into clients or leads. I mean, the idea of video is creating sort of a lead gen, machine that makes selling superfluous. You've already created enough points of contact that the sale is, I don't want to say inevitable, but it's coming, right? And you've created value. So let's sort of start at the top. What are the things that people need to be thinking about when they're bringing eyeballs to their business through video? Whether it's visuals, whether it's the way it's edited, whether it's the structure of the video, how long it is, what's hot right now?
Absolutely. So you touched on something very important, which is educating. You know, these videos are meant to educate the users. so that they can start to understand you're the authority. You're the expert in your industry. You're the person they should be going to for advice. So when we say top of funnel, it is about getting attention, but it's also about gaining trust with the audience so that by the time they do get on a sales call, they already know, like, and trust you from your social media pages. So I actually advise that all businesses start their videos, start concepting their ideas. Okay, what are we going to talk about? How are we going to approach this? Just always lead with this formula, which is, what do I know, the business owner, the brand, the CEO, whoever's making these videos, what do I know that our target market doesn't know that would make their lives easier? That's it. So it's not actually about pitching your services, being selly, asking for anything. You don't want to ask for anything. You just want to give. And how you do that is you ask yourself, what do I know that my target market doesn't know that would make their lives easier, and frame all your video topics around that. So just to give you some examples, Carrie, like for me, my audience is any business out there who's struggling to create videos to grow their business on social media, right? So what do I know that that demographic doesn't know yet that would make their life easier? Well, how about how to film videos on your cell phone? What angle to shoot at? How long should videos be? How long should the videos be on LinkedIn versus the videos you post on your YouTube?
Yeah.
Other value adds I could do is here's some free apps for getting subtitles on your videos. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just providing value, making their life easier without asking for anything. And what happens over time is the user following me starts to subconsciously just see me as the authority. They see me as the expert. So now let's say their boss comes in, it's the monthly meeting or whatever, and they say, oh, by the way, we have a budget for LinkedIn video now. If anyone wants to invest in LinkedIn video, we have a budget for it. What are your guys' thoughts? Well, I know I've been following this woman, Shay Rowbottom, and she's been giving me tons of free advice around LinkedIn video. Looks like that's who we should actually hire. So you're inadvertently positioning yourself as the expert anytime you put value above selling. I grew my entire audience just focusing on how can I make their life better? How can I give? How can I provide value? And inevitably the business comes to you.
You make it very clear, and if anybody is sort of like watched your videos and sat and thought about the content that you put out there, you very rarely pitch your services, like almost never.
Right.
It's always about value, or about even beyond value as a business owner, like connecting you with your audience in a way that's real. And the word authentic, and I'm like loath to say it because it's thrown around in such like a woo-woo kind of way. It's like cheapened, but really it means like believable, credible, spontaneous, real, those sorts of things. Like, how do you, so you'll do videos that are, like I'll pull up a couple, for example, when you were looking to get your LinkedIn live approval, you did a like all I want for Christmas video, or you did a video with you on the beach in like a police uniform. Like, how do you come up with these ideas?
Yes. So, I will say that is more a little bit natural for me. Yeah. I just always grew up wanting to sing, wanting to dance, wanting to perform. I'm a very creative soul, so I do want to differentiate, like, that's not everyone in the corporate or CEO world. And if that's not you, totally fine. You can still make videos around that formula that I just explained and have a lot of success growing online.
Yeah.
But what I do, and what I encourage all of my clients who are a little bit more artistic and do kind of have that edge, is to come up with a way to entertain people. We hear this like term edutainment, which is like education plus entertainment.
Or infotainment is another one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I have a formula for that I use, that's a little different than your typical like edutainment, which is whatever I'm trying to promote in that moment, I kind of reverse engineer it and think about a funny skit I could do around that idea. So I'll give you an example. I guess about a year ago now, whenever Clubhouse hit the scene,
Yeah.
Clubhouse was massive, and I decided, you know what, I want to grow on Clubhouse. I'm going to do some speaking there. I want to convert my audience and start getting people onto my Clubhouse. So what did I do? I didn't make a video like, hey, everyone follow me on Clubhouse, because that's too obvious and it won't get as much attention.
Lame.
People don't like being sold to. They don't like being, told what to do. What I did do, however, is I was like, you know what? I'm going to produce a skit where I'm acting and I'm going to make fun of all of the cliche things that we hear in Clubhouse. Right. So I just had a bunch of one-liners where I was like, oh yeah, like I'm a 9-figure earner, or like, I'm the one who invented Chase Bank, and all the like things you hear from the gurus of Clubhouse. And I'm literally, it's like reverse psychology. I'm like making fun of the very thing I'm promoting.
Right.
So I got a ton of people to engage. I got a ton of people roped in, like, oh my God, this is so funny. This is hilarious. They were sharing it just purely from the point of it being entertaining to them.
Yeah.
But then what I did is at the end of the video, I said, by the way, I'm on Clubhouse now. If you guys want to hear me, go follow me on Clubhouse. So in the end, it was an ad, but it was so entertaining and funny that nobody cares. They're going to share it anyways. And I do recommend that formula. You can do it like if you're launching an online program, you can make a video making fun of the things that like digital marketing entrepreneurs say. One time I did one where just for fun, I wanted to get like Gary Vee's attention. So I was like, how could I get Gary Vee's attention? And I made a skit making fun of Gary Vee. Like I had like my hair back. I was like pretending to be a dude, and I was like saying all his one-liners.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of them.
Yeah, and he saw the video, right? Because so many people started sharing it.
Yeah.
They started sending it to him like, oh, this is so funny. And lo and behold, one of his employees came across it, showed it to him. He commented, and like we've been connected ever since. So I think that there's an opportunity for businesses to really just start to think outside the box.
Yes.
Not be so stuck in this everything sales, everything ROI mindset, and instead just focus on how do we just get more eyeballs? How do we just cast the net wide, do something creative, value adding, where in the end, the conversion rate as meaning like how many people saw versus how many bought might actually be a lower percentage, but you've actually reached more people. You have more people coming in because you got so many eyeballs. Yeah.
Right. So it's sort of a numbers game a little bit. You may have a lower percentage, but you've touched 1 million people or whatever the number is. So even if it's a lower percentage, you've still actually made, in terms of numbers, a greater conversion.
Right.
When I just to highlight what you said, you do put a call to action at the end of these videos. It is something like, whether it's a follow me on Clubhouse or a like, if you want more, I'm making it up, tips or tricks, like subscribe here, here's my newsletter. If you're interested in this, right? There's always something at the end that hopefully brings people a little bit deeper into your funnel, correct?
Into my funnels, exactly. So great question. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is another crucial point, which is that we at my agency, we like to call it healthy CTAs. So healthy calls to action, meaning, yes, we have a call to action on everything, but it's not always a direct, like, call me today for a quote or reach out to me today for business. It's actually more with the focus and the intention to get people to engage. Getting people to engage with the video, because the more you can get people to engage, the more people start to see it in the algorithm. So I call healthy CTAs anything that gets people to engage. Like, you could end it with, what are your thoughts on this topic? Share in the comments below. So it's still a call to action. You're just calling them to engage so that the algorithm shows your post to more people. Now, inevitably, you build trust this way. People don't feel like you're selly. They feel like you're building community. And then they end up landing on your profile on their own, but really it's because they like you, because they feel like you're just giving, you're just being a giver. And then once they're on your LinkedIn profile or your landing page or whatever you might be connected to, that should very clearly be like an ad for what you do. because
Mhm.
that's where you're going to convert. And I know you have other people in this program talking all about that. So what I would encourage people to do is figure out ways to get people to engage, even if it's like something that you are promoting. Another option that you can go is do a giveaway. Say, hey, everyone tag 2 other people in the comments down below. We're going to enter your name into a raffle, and the winner is going to get, a gift card or free entry to our program, whatever it is. Well,
Yeah.
now everyone wants to win. Everyone's commenting and everyone's contributing to that algorithm growth. So again, I don't pitch a lot at the end of my videos. My CTAs are healthy CTAs, but I do always encourage people to engage.
Let me ask you a quick question. I'm sort of like, I may be getting a tad into the weeds here, but when it comes to giveaways, and then we'll get back on track, do you find that because when people are commenting and engaging, even if the person who is like seeing it immediately may perhaps just be interested in getting a freebie, because they're commenting in that way, it serves up the content to others who may be interested in more than that. So it's not necessarily like that immediate ROI. It's like, let's think about how to create engagement that like brings this further. Am I like thinking about it the right way?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I call it like a longer term investment.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people, especially with all of the social media companies out there now, like they want the short term. They want the run ads for me and I want to see a return starting next week.
Yeah.
There's benefit to that too. Don't get me wrong, but I play the long game. I play how can I just grow as many followers as possible? How can I grow as much trust as possible? How can I be seen everywhere so that boom, when I really am ready to like put on that sales cap and be like, I'm pitching, I have way more opportunity because I did that pay first, play later, versus a lot of people start the opposite. They pitch right away. They might get a few sales. They're like, oh, look, it works, but they've diluted their audience before they even grew it. So I always say grow a following for as long as you can without asking for anything.
I would agree with you on that 100%. It's like, I can make a post on whatever, right? Instagram or Facebook. And if it's a post that's about a direct sale, like let's say there's something that's the cohort is closing or whatever, there's engagement, but it's lower than it is when you're offering value. Like there's a time and a place for that sort of video, but it's not always. It's like 5% of the time.
I agree. And also you brought up a very good point, which is the more you cast the net wide and the more you just have these value adding posts or these entertaining posts that just get a lot of eyeballs, the more that next post you have that is a little more pitchy, it's going to reach more people. Yeah. So, sometimes I'll go viral on LinkedIn, but it's something not necessarily related to my business. Maybe it's like a trending topic or whatever it is that I decided to make a creative piece around, and I go viral. I won't necessarily get a ton of leads from it. What I will get is I'll get a ton of followers. Yeah. And I'll get a ton of good standing in the LinkedIn algorithm. So now the algorithm is reading my page as, whoa, she's valuable. She just got 1 million views. Let's make sure this next post, whatever it is she puts out, let's make sure now that next post reaches a lot more people. Well, then boom, you set yourself up to bat. So that next post, you can be more salesy. You can be more pitchy. And now you're going to actually reach more people.
Let me ask you a question that dives into that a little bit deeper, because some of the content that you go really viral for on LinkedIn, I say really viral, it's like viral or not viral. She's very unique. No, it's just unique. But some of the stuff that you go viral for is totally, I say totally, it's more removed immediately anyway from business than like business content. So you'll talk about like issues with childhood or with parents or with having narcissistic parenting sort of structures. How do you number one, encourage executives to explore the space outside of their immediate like business expertise? How do you encourage them to do that if it's the right fit? How do you get somebody, what would you say to somebody who's like, oh my God, yeah, my childhood was a shit show, but I'm not ready to share it on social media yet.
Right. Yeah. Well, follow me if you want to hear about mine. I've shared several pieces on that, but The thing is you can. It's always an option. So I always just say when it comes to the personal side of your blog, it's a different comfort level for everyone.
Yeah.
And there really are people who are genuinely like, no, I'm a very private person. I don't even share intimate things like that with some of my good friends. You know, I happen to be a very open person in my everyday life. So my blog is a reflection of that. If that's not you, that's okay. So I want to just put out the disclaimer first that there's a different level of comfortability with everyone. If
Yeah.
you're not willing to share personal things, that's fine. And you can still grow a business on social media. However, the other question I get is, well, I am open. I do want to share more about my personal life. I'm like you, Shay. I just can't see the connection between that and business. In fact, I feel like I'm going to turn off business
Yeah.
if I start to bring in my mental health struggles or, oh, I overcame addiction or, you know, all those things that we tend to have shame about. We forget that it's the most common life experience, like the most common. If you've had it, someone else has it.
Sure.
What is the most personal is actually the most general. So we tend to think, oh, I have depression, I'm the only one with depression, or, oh, I was an alcoholic, I'm the only one who was an alcoholic. That's like everybody, or at least they all are close to someone who has that.
They're
right?
in some way touched by it.
They're in some way touched by it. Exactly. So the way I see it is people buy on emotion, not logic. And I'm sure you have another person, hopefully in your program, going over that whole thing, because it's true. Human beings, they do buy on emotion. I've had so many clients follow me for the video tips, follow me for the marketing examples and all of that, but they don't actually come in the door. They don't actually pull the trigger like, yes, I want to buy from you, until they see a post about my personal life and my struggle that they resonate with. Oh, you know what? As soon as you started talking about being unseen as a child and having narcissistic parents and all these things, suddenly I felt safe with you, Shay, on a whole new level. On a whole new level, I felt safe with you. So we tend to always focus on the negative, like, oh, I'm going to turn people off from doing business with me if I get personal. Understand, you might. That's, I don't disagree. You might turn some people off. They might say, oh, she's over there being sappy. We don't want that. But you have to understand that you will actually bring more people in who are starving to feel that human connection, who are starving to just feel like they're normal.
Yeah.
And when they see someone on social media admitting the failing, the losing side of life, the human side of life, they suddenly feel like, oh my gosh, I'm safe with this person. Oh my gosh, this Shay woman, she gets me. I also have shame. I thought I was the only one. I want to work with her as opposed to other marketers, right? So it's kind of a funny thing. I actually think a good deal of my clients are there because of my personal content. They did want to buy from me, not because I'm the best marketer in the world, but because I have a story that's similar to theirs and I have a willingness to share it, and they feel safe with me. That level of trust we talk about building on social media is even higher when you go this route. So I always just say, you know, you can't really grow as much of a loyal following without that level of honesty. And it's going to be totally normal if you decide last minute, oh my God, I don't want to post this. I'm so scared. I don't want to be embarrassed, all these things. You know, that's just proof that you should post it. The more you're scared to post it, the more the universe needs to see that content. So try to get out of this whole bubble of business and looking professional and all of that, and just think outside the box for a moment of like, how do you want to leave this world behind? You know, do you really want more and more children to suffer from depression, from anxiety and addiction and all these things that are rampant in our culture? Or would you like to be a small piece of the solution, which really just starts with coming out and admitting you've got these problems too? So I certainly thought in the beginning, oh my God, I'm going to turn off business. It was a video about my depression. I admitted that I had struggled a lot with depression in my life. And I was very much in a low place. I very much was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but someone just something just told me to hit publish. And that would, at that time, was the highest performing video I'd ever had.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to realize, oh my gosh, I think I can get business still. I'm getting more business now. So that was really the light bulb moment. I just realized people need to hear the truth. People need to see more of the losing on social media, when there's too many people on social media just bragging about how much they're winning. And
Right.
people, they don't relate to that the same way. If they see you on social media and you're only ever winning, they actually might withhold their business from you because they feel like, well, I'm not like him or her. She's always winning. That's not me. So I wouldn't be good for them. But if they see you losing sometimes, they'll be like, oh, I lose sometimes too. Okay, you know what? I can work with them. They're like me.
Yeah, this person gets me. And I would 100% agree with you. I do think we have had this, like, listen, I haven't been in business very long, but from my experience, the business and the personal were in like these two separate sort of compartments, at least on paper. It never actually transpired that way because inevitably there's like dovetail and overlap, et cetera. And like personal problems affect the way that we do work, and work affects the way that we are in our lives, et cetera. But the last 2 years, we're like seeing our bosses' bedrooms because they're behind them, and like their messy, dirty kitchen, and the dog shit on the floor and the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
But when you are creating a video like that and you're putting yourself out there, you will, if you're doing it right, you are going to feel nervous. You are going to feel some like, oh God, do I want to do this? Like if you're not, you haven't really tested the boundaries, and you'll never know where the people are unless you do, or the people who are interested. It's sort of the ultimate in like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's an expression like sifting through the chaff, like the people who are not going to be good fits. Maybe they would have brought me some business, but I'm not going to have a great experience with them. They're not going to have the best experience with me. And so let's like just sort through all of that right from the get-go, so that if we're not a good fit, there's never going to be like a really deep conversation. Whereas when they watch a video and they recognize this person, Shay, in this case, right, whose name is the brand or is on the side of the building, and I'm going to be working with her, seeing her face through the course of whatever it is that we're doing. Wow, I actually feel like I kind of know her, and I think I might have a really good relationship or experience working with her. That's what those sorts of videos do, right? They guide you through the process. They let you know what it's going to be like to work with you.
You articulated that beautifully. Absolutely. Yeah, you did. I always say, I am so blessed that when I show up to a coaching call, when I show up with the group and I get on with all my clients, they all know me. Yeah. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to put on this metaphorical mask. I show up and I'm like, oh my gosh, was just having a mental breakdown, guys, but I'm good. I'm here now. It's like, it feels like family, it feels like people I can be myself with. I don't have to hide anything. So I always say to my clients, like, that are scared of turning people off, I'm like, well, do you really want to work with people who don't accept the real you anyways? I don't want to work with someone who thinks that sharing your vulnerabilities on social media is shameful. We're not on the same vibe, and I wouldn't be the best coach for them either, just as you mentioned. So I think it's really beautiful when people start to break through that. They see, oh my gosh, business is more fun now because I'm not just attracting more clients, I'm attracting the clients that actually align with me. And that doesn't just go for sharing your own personal story and getting vulnerable. It also goes for sharing beliefs you have that are maybe not PC or maybe not accepted by everyone. If you can share how you really feel about something, despite it being unpopular, or maybe the media is trying to make it look unpopular, but we're all figuring out it's actually not unpopular, that whole thing. Like when you do that, you attract people who have those same beliefs. And now you're like, oh my gosh, now I'm not just getting clients, I'm getting like a whole tribe of people who all believe the same way.
Yeah.
People buy from people who believe in things, who
Yep.
take a stand. When I get on LinkedIn and I say, I think that college is BS, I get a lot of people who are upset because it's LinkedIn and they've got like 17 degrees, right?
Mhm.
But I do get a lot of business from posts like that because I get all the people who are like, I also agree that college is kind of BS and it's outdated. And thank you for sharing.
Or I don't have a degree and I feel like less than, or people make me feel less than when I'm trying to work with them. I want to work with somebody who like gets where I am.
Exactly. Yeah, I really do. I think people buy from people who believe in things, people who take a stand. And I think where we see a lot of these businesses, and especially the more corporate, like stringent rules and all that, where we see them go wrong is they're just very like vanilla about everything. They're like, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to do, it's like, yeah, you might have no haters, but you might get no business either.
You also don't have any raving fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's interesting because, and it's sort of, I think when I hear you talk about like, yeah, you're going to have some controversy, you're going to have some people who are commenting like, I disagree or whatever. They're stirring up commentary. I think back to like one of the like ultimate radio shock jocks, Howard Stern. However you feel about him, good or bad, people loved him or they hated him. They both watched him. They both gave him ratings, the haters and the lovers.
Yeah.
And it's sort of similar in social media. Once you've established a brand and you've established your credibility, even if people are serving up hate, they're only feeding the algorithm so that your content gets served up to other people who totally love what you do.
Exactly.
So be okay with the trolls. Then the trolls, when they come out, they always punch up. They don't punch down. I talk about that all the time. Be okay with that. Recognize that they're going to come and you just got to set them aside and say like, see you later.
I love that. I've never heard that. Punch up, not punch down. I've never heard that. That's so true. I think, also I do actually want to go into that briefly, Carrie, because that's a huge thing I get with new people is I'm afraid of the haters. I'm afraid of the people in the comments who are going to, shame me and all of this. I would say that the biggest lesson that I had to learn over time was like, sometimes those comments from haters are the best feedback for you. And sometimes it's just totally a troll who's just out to hurt your feelings and there's no constructive feedback whatsoever. But if you can have an open mind, oftentimes for me, like I'll read comments, people disagreeing, people upset, people hating. The ones that trigger me the most are usually ones that are a little bit true.
Yes. Yeah,
exactly. So look, I understand if someone's commenting on your post and they're just being hateful and icky and there's nothing, like you can get offended by that as well. And I do understand. And for that, I have an exercise where I say, delete it, block them, whatever you need to do to feel better about yourself. Don't even read the comments. If you're just starting out, like you don't need that negativity. However, if you're open, do this exercise with yourself where see which comment triggers you the most, and then really go in and ask yourself, why did this bother me so much? And for me, it's things like, oh, you just want attention. I'm like, I definitely do want attention, right? I grew up in a home where I was deprived of that. So I do have this need for attention. I'm a little bit more of like, look at me type of personality. So that's something where I would say like, oh yeah, I'm a little offended by that, but it's also just because it is true versus someone saying like, oh, get off LinkedIn, Shay, your voice is ugly. I'm not offended by that at all because I happen to love my voice. I happen to actually think my voice is really cool. The thing about the other comment is it's going to cause me to look into myself in the sense that why do I still feel that liking attention is wrong? Why do I still shame that part of myself that does want to be on stage, that does want to be the center of attention? How can I work on that? How can I love that part of myself so that these comments from haters don't bother me at all anymore?
And you can look at them and say like, okay, this part of that comment is garbage because it's BS, or it's just like your voice sucks, or your shirt looks bad, or whatever. And like, is there a nugget in there that actually has something constructive that I can use to grow or build or create more content around? And the other part is to sort of piggyback on that is when the only point, frankly, of putting social media content out there is offering value. But by offering value, the goal is to bring eyeballs to yourself. The whole point is attention. If you
Exactly.
if you're out there and nobody knows that you're there, you're not going to be out there for very much longer. And so we stick ourselves in these little boxes. It's like, oh, I want to create content because I want people to notice me, and yet I don't want them to notice me. You can't have it both ways. And if you're bland and generic and like everybody else, you won't be noticed because there's too much other noise for people to cut through to find you, unless you happen to be a household name for some reason. And so you have to put yourself out there in a way that is entirely different from what most people are doing if you don't want to be seen as the same. So a couple of quick follow-up questions on that. When you are, so you mentioned maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, let's say there is a company that's like, we now have some money that we can, put toward like LinkedIn video creation. How do you talk to people in a business who may be like, well, we want to do infographics, and they're probably not coming to you, but like, how do you coach them out of that? What do you suggest to them? And then what do you see as the trends that are coming in social media that we need to be aware of as we put our content strategy together?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just that human beings are evolving. We're getting a lot smarter. We're getting harder to market to.
Yeah.
It's becoming a lot more about providing value, building trust. And let me think, what was the second part of your question there?
The second part was, hold on, because I've forgotten it too.
No, it's
I asked a two-part question.
The trends I see coming.
Yes, the trends. I asked it that way because I knew I was going to forget the second part, and I was hoping you'd remember it.
No, this is really, 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 really great advice. Like, anyone with a company tuning in, please listen to this. I believe that what's coming and what we'll eventually start to see in companies, corporations, et cetera, as an employee benefit is the company will sponsor and support the employee in learning how to market themselves on social media. Mm-hmm. Now, hear me out, right? Because a lot of people are like, why would I do that? Why would I equip them with skills that will empower them to start their own business and then they could leave me and right? It's like, that's really the old paradigm. That's this whole scarcity mindset. Like, we need to trap employees. That's the way to retain them. It's like, the way to retain them is actually to like empower them by giving them choices, by giving them freedom. So, you, the CEO, the owner, the face, very important for you to be making videos, very important for you to be branching out into this new social media venture. But imagine if you also had all of your employees also making videos and also all driving traffic back to the business. So I really think like a trend we're going to see a lot more programs that are going to pop up, et cetera, is really like a training on how to turn your employees into social media influencers. Mm-hmm. And it can be different for everyone. Every employee is going to have a different edge. Maybe some are a little bit more, just based on the facts and strategic. Maybe some are a little bit more like me, where they want to do skits for the company and they want to share their life story. That's beautiful, because now you have an array of personalities out there on behalf of your business, and they're going to all start to attract people who resonate with them personally. So you're going to be able to bring in all sorts of people that maybe didn't just resonate with you, the CEO. So I would definitely say that's a trend that's coming. I think we're going to see it as an employee benefit in the future. Candidates that are getting interviewed for a job, they're going to ask the employer, hey, what do you do here for social media growth? Do you have an editing team in-house where they can, help edit videos for me, the employee, to grow on social media, with the understanding that as long as I'm utilizing the company's resources, I in turn also promote the company and do a little shout out at the end of all my videos.
Well, I mean, it's like you're basically creating a series of, I don't want to get like religious, but like apostles or testimonials or witnesses for what your company does. And you're contributing to their own growth. I mean, the job market right now is crazy. I was talking to somebody the other day who's in IT who said for every candidate, IT candidate, there are 5 jobs that are available. So they're going to have to court those candidates because they've got gobs of other opportunities. So how will you contribute to my professional and personal growth? Like, what sort of programs do you have that will help me hone my talent and help me establish my own brand? I mean, it goes right along with that philosophy, and then creating an opportunity for all of these people to sort of testify on behalf of the company. Let's say you have 5 salespeople and they all have a slightly different personality. Somebody is going to come to your business based on a video or something that they've seen from one of these people, and that person is the right fit for them. The other 4 salespeople may not be, but you've created an opportunity to engage and establish a 2-way communication through it, right? That's sort of it in essence. Yes.
You didn't even need me here today, Carrie.
You just got
it all. You got it. You know it.
No squat. I'll tell you that much. I know how to look at a camera and like wear a shirt, and that's sort of where it ends.
Well, why don't we go into a little bit more of the tangibles? Like, okay, now you know that you need to provide value to your audience. You know that you need to hit them with something that's going to make their life easier, to get them to know, like, and trust you, and also see you as the authority in the industry. That's all great. Now, I do want to touch on a few things, because you can do all that, but still have a really crappy opener that gets no one's attention.
Yeah.
So even if there's value within the video, it's not enough. You need to start the video with something super engaging. So headlines. There is a huge industry now for writing headlines. So I do want to just put out the disclaimer and say, if you yourself are not interested in becoming an expert in writing headlines for these topics, now around your industry, hire someone. Hire a copywriter, hire someone who's good at headlines. And what I recommend for my clients who are starting with these videos, they've got their topic, they're going to give this free advice, this value. They know the gist of like the takeaway of the video. And the next question is, well, how do I come up with my headline, Shay?
Yeah.
I always say, if this piece of video content were an article in the New York or the LA Times, like, what would your headline be? And a lot of people are like, wait a minute, like, that's article headline. This is for a video. Like, I'm not going to open my video with a line like that. That seems like out of context, out of place. I say, no, it's not. It's the exact same thing as reading a newspaper. A headline gets your attention. You might not have all the context yet, but the headline enough was going to get you intrigued that now you're going to go on and read the article and get that context. So it's the same with starting your video. Start with the headline and then go into the actual meat of the video, et cetera, et cetera. And then, as I mentioned earlier, like, end with that CTA with a goal of just getting people to engage in the comments.
So let me ask you then, when you've got your headline, you know that you've got a CTA at the end, how do you structure the middle part? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? Does it depend where it is? And how do you like plug in all of those different pieces of the puzzle?
Yeah, great question. I would say a sweet spot for LinkedIn is 2-minute videos. There's a couple different routes. So you can just shoot on the fly, which is what I just call one take all the way through right there on your cell phone. Or you can do what I call cut style, which is actually what I teach in my program, where you write the script out line by line. So you don't have to memorize anything. You've got it all laid out, but you're on a tripod, and in between each line, you're looking down, looking back up, looking down, and then you send it off to an editor to cut out all of those in between to make one fluid chop video. That's a safer route if you don't want to memorize anything. If you want to just get it done quickly, I recommend on the fly, because the reality is, if you're the expert in your industry, you don't really need to write anything out. Like, you've probably shared this tip already in your life so much. The only difference is now you have a camera on you. I shot all my videos in the beginning on the fly on my cell phone, one take. But something to keep in mind is I didn't always release the first take.
There's a whole, listen, I got a whole blooper reel that
okay, exactly. I would shoot it, 3 or 4 times before I finally got one where I was like, okay, this is the one. And then I'd release it. People say, oh, you're so fluid all the way through. How do you do it? I said, well, that was my 4th take. but the important thing to do when watching those videos back or reading that script you wrote, if you do cut style back, is being very objective and just asking yourself, per the key takeaway, the value add that I'm wanting my audience to get out of this, is everything in this video actually necessary? And when you really remove your ego, you often find there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of like, you know, is that really necessary to get my point across? Does the viewer really need to hear that? No, 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 no. So once you get good at cutting the fluff, you realize it's actually quite easy to do a 2-minute video, because all you need is the value. All you need is the meat, that main thing that's going to make their life easier and get them to love you and see you as a helpful person. So that would be my main advice. You know, have an idea in your head, what you're going to say, plan your headline, plan your takeaway. But as far as the body, it might take some practice in understanding what's actually needed and what was just fluff.
Do you advise people mostly to create like talking head videos when you're starting? Is that the easiest thing to do? Or do you then jump into like, let's create sequences and we'll shoot some B-roll and yada, yada, yada? The easiest
thing? Just pure talking head videos to start, keeping it easy. I even recommend that people do start on their cell phone, because the problem with getting a big camera and getting a big setup and all this is a lot of times people overwhelm themselves and then it becomes harder to sustain. So with social media, consistency is the #1 thing. So what can you commit to? If you feel like it's going to be easier for you to commit to just shooting on your cell phone, don't make it harder on yourself. Just stick with that, and that will allow you to scale up over time.
I love it. So let me wrap up with a couple of quick questions. Number 1, what are the biggest mistakes that you see people making that you want to steer them away from? Or maybe they're even mistakes that you've made as you were building your video portfolio or your online presence. Like, don't do this. It's done all the time. And it's like mistake numero uno, or so on.
Right. So I would say the biggest mistake that I see is people are boring. People,
oh my God, yes.
People are trying to, they're trying to be liked by everyone. They're trying to make sure they don't offend anybody. And it comes out very dry, very boring. You know, I think it was like Jordan Peterson who had the quote where he said, like, you can't say anything of value without offending at least someone.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth in that. So the #1 mistake is that people just think being the nice guy is going to get them the most wins. And it's not necessarily true. You know, you really need to understand there will always be people that disagree with you. Even if you spend all of your energy trying to be perfect, people will still hate you. So you might as well just be more authentic and be a little bit more like risky in what you share. So I would say that's the #1 thing. But the #2 thing is really actually just pitching. People pitch too much in their content. They ask for too much. They're trying too hard to push their product directly, and they're not focusing on adding value to their audience first. So we went over that. We also went over #3. I'd say don't introduce yourself. That's so common when people start making videos like, hey, you know, my name's John Smith and I work in accounting. And then by the time you actually get to the substance of the video, the viewer has already clicked away.
Yeah. It's like, this is not a networking event.
Exactly. And we can all see your name there, John, on your profile right there. So those are the biggest mistakes that I see, along with people making them too long. And as I mentioned, people just having too much fluff, not getting just straight to the point, direct, and focus on value first.
Is there anything you think that well, I'm sure there's a million things, but anything that you really want to make sure viewers know that I haven't asked you about or that we haven't touched on?
Clean the lens. Clean the lens. No, I'm serious. Not even just for videos. Anytime you're out with the family, you're out to dinner and you have the waiter take a photo of you, you would be shocked at how much of a difference it makes if every moment before you do a picture or video, you just do this. Yeah. I mean, it is night and day. People always forget to clean the lens. and it makes a huge difference. So I can't leave. Oh, and actually,
Yes.
look at the lens.
Oh my God. Thank you very much for saying that.
Don't look at yourself on the screen. Look at the dot, right? Like you see right now, I'm looking at the dot on the laptop. Like that translates to the viewer feeling like you're looking at them in the eyes. When you look at yourself in the video, there's more of a disconnect. The way it shows up in the feed, it doesn't look as you don't connect with them as much.
Yeah.
So I totally understand if you want to glance down to make sure that you're centered, make sure you're well lit. I mean, you can certainly glance down from time to time to make sure, but the overall video, look at that dot.
I love you for that. Yeah. Where can people find out more about you, Shay, if they're interested in working with you or interested in learning about your products or your services or your offers? How should they reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely follow me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Shay Rowbottom. That is where all of my original content goes out first. And you can message me and my team there to learn more about what we do for LinkedIn and businesses here. You can also go to my website, shayrowbottom.com, find me anywhere at Shay Rowbottom. And if you want to just get straight to reaching out to my team directly, you can email mary@shayrowbottom.com to set up a call.
You are fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and just super excited that you're getting this information out there because it's something that more and more people need to know.
Listen, if you have not found a way to make video like work beyond your available hours or scale beyond your immediate network, you're not doing it right. Right. Sure. Yeah. And I love you for giving us advice on how to scale and how to use it in a way that is effective and compelling. So Shay, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching this episode of the VIQ Live Speaker Series. We'll see you back here for the next episode. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the VIQ Project podcast. If you're interested in learning about my do-it-yourself courses, my Done With You coaching programs, or my Done For You video services, head to my website, www.carriebarrett.com. And here's to seeing you through the lens.